G'day everyone, welcome back to Zero Access Footy, episode number 38. We are right around the corner from the big day, draft day of 2025, and we're going to see up to, 60 presumed people are going to be joining AFL
Slightly
football
less,
clubs.
I think.
A little
Slightly
bit less,
less.
that's all right.
Yes.
Either way, we're going to be seeing some new players, potentially new AFL stars join their teams. Once again, I'm here with Bem, otherwise known as a Premiership Quarter, and we are going to get stuck into our final edition, our final 30-player mock draft. And this is going to have a whole lot involved. Do you want to give a rundown as to exactly what this mock draft is going to look like?
So first of all, we do have some trades. There are 4 trades here. We are also including bids on academy players, as any normal mock draft does, but we have also included all the points allocated from those picks being put back in, and yada, 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 all followed through. It is a top 30 mock draft, and you might as well get through with the first 4 trades that are going to be involved that we have discussed. Obviously, these 2 are pretty much confirmed, being Carlton trading away pick 9 to Essendon in exchange for pick 21, 27 and 30. While this may affect Essendon later in the draft with some of their NGA players, they will be willing to do that to get 3 top 10 players. And then the second pick is North Melbourne trading up to get pick 11 and using their first second-round pick, which is pick 25, and their future second-round pick to obviously get in that first-round pick. Can't do this to be able to get more points later in the draft. The third trade we have is Hawthorn getting Adelaide's future first and current first, pick 16, in exchange for Adelaide getting Hawthorn's pick 10 and 22 that they got originally from Carlton, as well as a couple other later picks, like a future second and future third being swapped
Between
either
the two
way.
sides, yep.
But the goal here is, because it's an Adelaide-heavy draft, Adelaide want to trade up and get someone who might potentially fall a little bit, and Hawthorn don't need a top 10 pick because they want to get some future first to be able to trade for some superstars in the off-season.
Exactly
then
right. We've got one more trade as well.
Final trade here is Melbourne trading away Gold Coast future first and the Bulldogs getting that pick in exchange for their first-round pick, which is currently 14 before all the bids come in. The Bulldogs, similar to Hawthorn, might want to trade for a Port Adelaide superstar, and also Melbourne want to get back in and get as many picks before the Tassie draft comes through.
Exactly right.
So the goal is for them, they don't need Gold Coast next year. They can trade in and get one this year.
And that's, I think, what's exciting about the trades for this one is a lot of consideration in regards to getting as many first-round picks now, because first-round picks, there's been the talk about how they're not as valuable this year as they have been in previous years.
Yep.
27 and 28 are going to be, or especially 27, is going to be the prime example of your first-round pick not being enough of a first-round pick.
Yeah.
So,
also, just to add on to that, there are a couple later picks involved in the Melbourne Dogs trade that do get involved later, which is Melbourne getting 37 and the Dogs getting 41. Just a bit of a late switch there. One of those picks, actually, both of those picks do get involved later in the draft.
yes. With that being said, though, we're going to get stuck straight into it. We've got notes for everyone, but for the first one, we don't really need notes.
Nope.
It is pretty much the consensus number 1 overall pick now for the West Coast Eagles, Willem Duursma. He has received his first AFL side. The Willem Duursma West Coast Eagles era has arrived.
Yeah.
He has been considered the highest draft talent out of everyone here in a season that doesn't have all that much, but at the same time, it is mostly assumed he's going to find himself into that midfield role pretty quickly, but starting on that half back is also the other side of the coin for this bloke.
Yeah, absolutely. There's things that he compares himself to. He has said he wants to be like Bont or tries to model himself after Bont. There are certainly elements to that game. I think there might be some questions about his ball use from day one, but he certainly doesn't shy away from kicking the ball. It's pretty much solidified that West Coast will be taking him with pick 1, and also pick 2 in almost every mock draft I have seen has them bidding on Gold Coast Zeke Uwland.
Yes.
And obviously Gold Coast do match that. They match it with picks 15, 18 and 24, and they get pick 43 back, and that's enough to be able to do that. Does put them in some question for the other player that they have, which is Dylan Patterson. But I think for Zeke Uwland, consensus best kick in the draft, hasn't shown a lot, obviously due to the back injury this year, but was a top ager for both his 16 and 17-year-old seasons. and really shows an ability to be able to play in this future for the Gold Coast team.
Yeah, and there's a world where he was considered to be pick number one. That back injury really, well, I wouldn't say really messing up his season, because at the end of the day, he is still going to be pick 2, and it helps out his Gold Coast potential or his Gold Coast bid a little bit more than being pick number 1. But of course, he is the brother of Bodie Uwland, who already plays for the Gold Coast Suns. So already got the fit. Seems like he's going to be a Gold Coast lifer at this rate. But with this one, it opens up a lot of interesting scenarios for pick number 3, because this is where things start to get a little bit, I wouldn't say confusing, but I'd definitely say interesting, because pick 3 was somewhat different in our most recent, or in the most recent version of our mock draft together. I'm not 100% sure who you and Jonty had together, but this one at pick 3, we've eventually landed on CDT.
The closer that we get to the draft, the more it looks likely that West Coast will go after him. I do have some questions about it, simply because of the talent they already have. Like Archer Reid, I think, is very similar to him. He was a first-round pick from 2 years ago. I don't know if either of them are ruckman or key forward, so I think they're just doubling down on the same thing there. But you can't really deny his question. I've always thought he was more of a younger Tim English rather than, let's say, a Luke Jackson that people have compared him to. Because when you consider Tim English, he was both a forward and a ruckman when Stefan Martin was there in that 2021 season. And I think that's probably closer to what he is. Doesn't have the size necessarily, but...
The bloke is quick, by the way, as well.
He is seriously quick.
A really quick bloke. He was in the top 10 for the 20-meter sprint.
Seriously
so he can
quick.
get on his feet, and that could be something that differentiates himself from the rest of the ruckman.
He's a really good kicker as well. He's really skillful. So West Coast probably get that, and he probably can play from day one. It's just probably going to be as a forward instead.
Yeah.
But that doesn't leave Richmond now to have another bid on Gold Coast for Dylan Patterson. Now, Gold Coast here really push themselves on their picks. They go actually into a 53-point deficit here. However, considering that is such a late pick and it's not really going to affect them too much, they don't care, but it does affect them with their other 3 NGA players later in the draft that may not potentially be able to go to them. They might not be able to match them because they don't have any picks, but they do land Dylan Patterson.
And he's probably he's the second most important, realistically. Zeke, if it wasn't for Zeke, he would be their top priority. But Dylan Patterson, we'll have to wait and see whether that becomes a big problem for them. Realistically, a late round academy pick. Of course, I want to pick them up, but if they can't, I don't imagine it's going to be much of a big deal in a draft that's considered to be a not so great one and not so talented one. But we'll wait and see.
Yeah, I think with Patterson, everything that I've heard and from what I've seen, he's the most bankable star in this draft, at least from what I've seen.
Which is fantastic to hear, knowing that he's going to Gold Coast.
Absolutely. Richmond once again bid, but this time on the Brisbane star Dan Annable. Brisbane were able to match this due to the trade that they did from West Coast with Brandon Starcevic, and they get pick 48 in return. Obviously, also the top 10 all has a 10% discount, which is why it's a bit more lenient. So the first round has a top 10, a 10% discount. Just getting absolutely done with my words in there.
We're still in the top 5, mate. You got a bit to go.
Dan Annable, he is probably the one who can play from day one. Unfortunately, he's playing at Brisbane, so
it's going to be hard to get himself in there.
Really hard to get in.
But from all accounts, he's a hard worker. He's a bloke who's going to put his head down and understands the scenario he's getting himself into.
He, from all reports that I've heard and for what Jonty said last week, if he was playing in the team this year, 2025, he could have been in the team. Like, he could have been playing in that grand final. So he's basically had an extra couple of years in the VFL system over anyone else. So he's the most ready player, and he'll probably just replace either Neil or Dunkley when they slowly fade out.
Which is fantastic to hear, knowing that that's the premiership back-to-back lines is getting that type of player, that type of leader potentially. That's some of the swirlings around that one.
Yeah. Richmond's now with their actual pick, select Sam Grlj.
You are so high on Sam Grlj. I'm going to let you explain this one for the majority of it, but I do want to add a bit.
He is so clearly my favourite player in this year's draft, and I just think when you watch him and when you see him with the ball under his arm, he tucks it and he just goes. And when you consider something that separates him from other players, both at the draft level and at the AFL level, you want something to be able to separate him, and he's got the speed and the athleticism to do that. And I think that can bank him as a player early and can help him develop because he's already got something that separates him. Players that need to get there take a while. He won't take a while. I think he can play from day one, and he pairs perfectly alongside Richmond's other midfielders as well.
Well, if Richmond's looking to jump from now, because that's kind of what it sounds like with the Sam Grlj pick. He's going to play straight away, get games straight away. It's either they're hoping that he's going to be part of the group that they think is going to improve, or they're hoping he's going to just fit in alongside all these developing players. So I'm interested to see what Grlj ends up being in this team. But yeah, from the small glimpse I'm getting, he's like a similar version of Dylan Patterson. He loves to run with the football, loves to get the ball moving, quick, easygoing, really, really skilled player in the sense that he has some fantastic vision alongside all that too. So he's got the hallmarks of a player who can really break a game apart. And I mean, for Richmond's style of football, at least from what we remember back in their dynasty, it's exciting to think what Grlj could be with this team.
It's exciting. Richmond here now bid on the best key defender in this year's draft, which is Harry Dean, and Carlton do accept this. Obviously, in these situations, we do obviously have Carlton trading back, and they end up using 3 picks and get pick 27 in return. So there's no issues with the draft on that. Just fits in perfectly next to Jacob Wiedering. When you consider Harry O'Farrell should be back halfway through the year as well, I think they pair a really nice dynamic duo for the future as well. And for Carlton, it absolutely is great for them to get a top 10 player in a draft where they didn't have a first-round pick anyway, because obviously traded away to get Jagger Smith.
Yep.
They've got a really good future now as well. So I think it just works out well that they're now able to pair him alongside a couple other young players coming through.
Exactly right. It's so, surprising to see how quickly this is all turned around for them in the sense of knowing that Kurno's going, seeing all the negativity around the club. They have a top 3 pick, a really exciting father-son, a bunch of picks in the future to work with, as well as a new list and new role players like Hayward and Florent. Harry Dean is such a perfect fit, like you mentioned, alongside Jacob Wiedering. I am so excited to watch those two play together.
Yeah, absolutely. With Richmond's actual pick, they take Sullivan, Robey, the big bolter.
Yes.
Maybe doesn't go in the top 5 as some people might have hoped, just as the story, but Richmond do end up taking him regardless. Works really nicely, I think, alongside Lawler and Hodden. When you consider Hodden maybe is that smaller midfielder, when you consider maybe a comparison to Isaac Rankin, which has been said before, Lawler's more of your bigger body, but not necessarily being that like Bont style. Robey is that genuine 192 centimetre, really built Christian Petrarca type.
Yeah, he is a very mature bloke too. I remember watching his video with the Craft of the Draft boys, and he's well-spoken. Seems like he's got a really good head on his shoulders in the sense that he understands what he's working with, what it's taken to get there, and his weaknesses. I think that's something to be really excited about with this pick, and I can see why he bolted so high, because with his skill and his body maturing to the point where he's at, he is a super, super exciting prospect, and I think Richmond are going to be very, very lucky to have a bloke like him on their side.
Absolutely. It now falls with Essendon and their 2 picks. Now they have no one to bid on.
This has been such an, with Essendon, sorry to kind of get off track with the mock draft situation, but there's been so much talk about who they could potentially get. The names have been flying everywhere with these blokes. So the first one for this one, I'm very interested to see what people think about this one. That's all I'll say to start off with this one, because Xavier Taylor is pick number 9 for the Essendon Bombers. Talent is absolutely there. He looks like he's going to be the replacement, potentially, maybe a taller version of Andy McGrath. Am I on the right kind of?
Similar.
Yeah.
There are questions with McGrath in terms of, is he a halfback? Is he a midfielder?
Yeah, I think McGrath is more of a ball user.
Yeah.
Taylor can get himself into packs, but it looks like he's going to potentially get one of those halfback roles as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He has both the lockdown and interceptability, which is probably ideal for Essendon, considering he can pair nicely alongside Ridley, and they can form a really good duo next to each other because he can play from day one. And then you also consider the fact that he is a good ball user as well. So maybe he could be close to this might be sound ridiculous, but a Tom Stewart type.
Yeah.
where he's able to do everything as a defender and really patrols it all. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes earlier, but I don't think he falls any later than this.
Yes.
He's just a genuine number 1 talent. I think I had him falling in my other drafts. I regret that now. I think Essendon absolutely take him. But given they've taken a defender, I think they need to now take someone else, someone slightly different. And considering someone like Archie Perkins hasn't really fallen on, neither is Ben Hobbs, neither is Elijah Tardis, they are taking
Mr. Sam Cumming.
Yep.
I believe we had him in a similar spot in our most recent version of this one.
Yep.
Sam Cumming, in the sense that he's probably, I don't want to say that he is lacking the talent that the others do, but with Sam Cumming, he's clearly the lesser of the picks going at the moment. He's a South Australian boy as well. That's one thing that I was always looking out for. I was wondering, would potentially a Adelaide find a way to trade up to get him? Because it looks like, at least the way that we're doing things with our mock draft, they are hunting Adelaide boys pretty heavily. Little teaser for everything else. But Sam Cumming is sitting at 184 centimetres.
Yep.
Played a fantastic role with the North Adelaide side. Yep, that's the one. But looks like if it's not going to be Essendon, as we've got here, Richmond, Essendon, or Melbourne are the projected places for him to find.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
he's definitely
absolutely.
finding himself within that 8 to 12 range, and we've got him dead centre at 10.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are potential things of Taylor and Lachy Dovaston being taken together by the same team because they're really good mates and maybe you want to keep that. And I think it's certainly an option here. I haven't gone with that because I think Isaac Kako and Dovaston might not be able to pair nicely next to each other.
Yeah.
It's just a bit too same.
Yeah,
So I think going for someone like Sam Cumming is a bit different. That does fall, though, with Cameron Nairn being a big bolter here for Melbourne.
Yes, so
at
this
pick
is
11.
This is definitely going to interest some people, but I'll let you take the most of this one. Sorry.
So there has been a lot of talk recently that I've heard that Melbourne are seriously considering taking him. He is very much like an outside player. He's great. He's a great runner, has great athleticism, but there is a bit of potential for him to potentially play midfield down the line. But I think the ideal thing for him is he's going to be a real key to this Stephen King transition game that he wants to implement. When you think of Melbourne of the most recent years, what have they been? A contest and clearance side and defensive ability. They're now changing that, and I think Nairn pairs perfectly with that as well. And then when you consider maybe they need someone, because Kosey Pickett's moving in the midfield, someone to replace that ability in the forward half, they're going to be taking it. Pick 12, the best small forward in the draft.
Yeah. And that's Lachy Dovaston.
Yeah.
Lachy Dovaston is one that I'm really excited to watch. He has been, from all accounts, one of the most effective small ball users they've seen for a really, really long time in terms of team scout. And for him to pair up at Melbourne with Kosey Pickett probably being his mentor, it's really exciting for the bloke. He's absolutely got the potential to be that Nick Watson spark plug that so many people kind of are seeing him as. But I'd like to see him potentially... Kosey Pickett is a perfect example of what he could potentially become if all things go perfectly.
Yeah.
Because Lachy Dovaston is so impactful on the scoreboard, really impactful with the ball. It's just about how does he get his hands on the ball more often. And that probably won't happen straight away if he is to do really well. He's going to need to show his signs as a small forward and show his effectiveness with the ball to begin with as he gets better. But with Spargo going to North, Sparrow leaving as well.
Yeah, there's rumours about that for next year, given he's a free agent.
Exactly. Dovaston fits very, very well with that.
And even if someone like Kosey Pickett does leave, they've got a perfect replacement for him.
Yeah. Now, with the next pick.
Yeah, this is Essendon's pick that they got, obviously, with that trade from Carlton. And given they've taken a defender and a forward half midfielder here, I think they go for something different. And I think they go for Aidan Schubert, a key forward.
Yeah, and I like it because I rate Schubert very highly in the sense that he seems to be a fantastic forward option. With Melbourne getting Myercheck, my thought was I thought Schubert would be a good one for Melbourne, but considering they've got Myercheck and they've got a proven forward, that Schubert wouldn't go to them.
There's not an immediate need for it.
So Essendon picking him up, I think, is a fantastic little outcome.
I think, he pairs really nicely alongside Caddy as well. He seriously athletic, like he can jump out the park. He's a great contested marker as well. And I think he's just got a really consistent work effort at the moment. And that really should shine true for teams that want to take him here. And I think this is his range as well. I wouldn't be surprised if a team potentially tries to trade up and snag him. But he falls into Essendon's hands. And I think as someone who can potentially play alongside Peter Wright, but also replace Peter Wright in the same vein. I think works really nicely.
Yeah, and just very quickly before we move to the next one, I think because the talks of CDT potentially falling, Essendon were pretty hot on potentially picking him up. I think Schubert is probably the better option, if I'm being completely honest, because with CDT, I don't think Essendon would know where exactly to put him. There's too many holes. Schubert, you know where he's going. You know exactly where you want to put him. So putting him in that forward line is fantastic for Essendon. Next, however, another what feels like perfect fit and a perfect trade for Adelaide, because this is involved with the third, with trade number 3, which is for pick 10 that they received from Hawthorn. They are getting Dyson Sharp, the captain of the SA side, the SA under-18 side, I believe.
Yes. So this is the trade that they made specifically to trade up and get him here. There was a reason for it, and this is why, because they get an SA boy who is seriously considered one of the top 10 players at pick 14 here. Like, they get a bit of a slider, captain the SA under-18 side, and I think he's really going to bolster them in their midfield and also can play forward at times, which he showed at the champs level. He just pairs really nicely alongside Jordan Dawson, I think, and he provides more than what a Sam Berry would or more than what a Jake Saligo would. And he can fit really nicely alongside Sid Draper as well, when you consider they're not the same players and they won't affect each other either. Yeah,
there's a lot of pressure on the bloke because there's a good chance that they're going to need him to start performing pretty quickly into his AFL career. But when you're considering the bloke has been a captain, he's playing for his home state, it's pretty hard to find a better player to potentially fill that role.
Absolutely.
So that is a great pick for Adelaide. Then we move on to another traded pick. This one is Carlton's second, which was originally pick 11. North Melbourne have come in to pick this one. So, my boys, what do they go and do? They fill a need. They fill a need with Blake Thredgold. I hadn't heard much about Blake Thredgold until very recently, and I'm excited with the bloke. I think he fits. He's probably the best type of player outside of the likes of Harry Dean. Harry Dean was one that I really, really would have liked to see North pick up. It obviously was going to be hard with Carlton doing everything they can to bring him in. Blake Thredgold, though, he isn't considered the most highly talented, but to give you an idea as to some performances, I believe in his grand final, let me just quickly find his notes, best on field in the under-18 SANFL grand final with 12 marks, so played a big performance in one of the biggest stages, which would be great to see someone like him perform like that for North Melbourne. And very clear why North is trading up for this one, because the patches in their backline are so heavy that they needed to find any type of backline help. If it wasn't going to be a trade like they haven't done in the trade period, it had to be in the draft. And so Blake Thredgold feels like he's going to be the one who gets picked up. If he doesn't, if he gets past this point, I'd be very surprised.
Yeah, I think when you consider he is like a medium defender, he doesn't take away from Comburn or Logue or Toby Pink in any of their stuff, even though they're not superstars by any means. But he also doesn't really affect the ball movement. He can be involved in both. And I think that's a real reason. So you essentially trade up for this player, and the Bulldogs and Melbourne trade that we talked about earlier is almost like a live trade where the Bulldogs would have waited if he was available, and considering he's not in this mock draft, they then trade out with obviously Melbourne. And I think that's sort of where that idea comes from.
So maybe a little bit confusing for some, but basically, reactionary is what this trade would be. This Bulldogs Melbourne trade. Next up for the GWS Giants, they go ahead and pick up Oskar Taylor. So there's been rumours that the Giants have been looking at him pretty heavily, fairly highly talented in regards to a lot of people's fandom drafts and what they've been looking at for him. A quick bloke, really quick bloke, gets the ball moving quite well, and I think you said here he's a Whitfield replacement.
Yeah,
that's a big one.
He could very well play off halfback early. There's probably going to be a winger at either or really, someone like that Carl Amon type, but he's in terms of positionally, not in terms of how they play. He's very much athletic, quick, run with ball in hand. And I think GWS, that's how they play with their tsunami game, pairs perfectly alongside that running with Lockie Ash and with Finn Callahan. And it's just a seamless fit. He doesn't need to change his game to fit in. Works out perfectly, I think, in the end.
Yeah, I think a very, very nice scenario as well for Oskar Taylor.
West Coast now take the homegrown talent, the best WA talent sort of nicely falls in. I wouldn't be surprised if a team like Essendon really go for him early. But I think considering they need a bit more of a key tool, they might go for the Schubert that we take them. But he is an absolutely great kick. Has the potential for development into a midfielder as well, which I think could be really crucial for West Coast. And obviously the no-go home factor, I think, is really crucial, considering they're taking 2 Vic boys early as well.
Exactly.
They need someone who potentially, if they continue to stay bad, won't have that pull home.
Yeah, beautiful. So now we move back to that Melbourne Dogs trade. This one, we've finally got Ollie Greeves. Ollie Greaves has been a name that's always been floating around throughout the year, but has found himself a little bit into the late teens. So with this pick here, Ollie Greaves, inside bull, question of if he's too much like a Clayton Oliver clone in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there are concerns that he's not the quickest. He's not going to be involved much in transition, but in terms of getting his hands on the ball, getting it from the inside to the outside, I think he is absolutely top 3 in this draft in that ability. And considering Melbourne and who they've taken, being a couple outside players and a couple small forwards, it pairs nicely for them to take someone else, someone slightly different. And he doesn't affect either Langford or Windsor's or Lindsay's ability to play in the midfield either.
Yeah. It says here, was he part of Hawthorn's Next Generation Academy?
He could have been. They were trying to be at the start of the year, but unfortunately it didn't go through.
Yep. Makes sense. Next, we've got...
speaking of Hawthorn.
Yeah, speaking of, they find themselves with Noah Hibbins-Hargreaves. Now, I'm really excited for him because... to make it as least to really glaze past this point, he's played with my cousin before, which is really, really interesting. It's just strange, really strange. But knowing that has me on his side, and I hope he does well. Hawthorn with this trade, they've moved back.
This was the Adelaide trade that they did.
Yes, exactly right. So he is another one of those Greater Western Victoria boys who while they are a Victorian side, they wouldn't have that hope of trying to go to one of those big major like Collingwood, Carlton, Essendon clubs. Hawthorn, while they are still a big club, obviously other clubs can pull him in. He seems like a pretty loyal bloke. In the main speak of his play, he is a half forward who can occasionally play a bit of midfield time. Very effective. Has had a few captaincy stints with the Dandenong Stingrays as well. And what else has we got here? Hawks have traded back for this pick, correct? Yeah. So they traded back and ended up picking him up.
They don't need to keep that original pick that would have been in the Dyson Sharp range. While they would have loved to have taken Dyson Sharp, I don't see too much of a difference in terms of the position with Noah Hibbins-Hargreaves. He's called the hyphen. I just think that
that's a struggle. There's some good nicknames in this draft class.
That's
the hyphen is a bit rough.
Okay. I think he's complementary to Ginnivan and Moore. If one of them play midfield, he can play the other forward. If switch it around, I just think he can pair nicely alongside them and can also sort of play a little bit of that almost key role, more so of a medium. But if someone like a Kalshi D is not in the side, or if Jack Gunston is able to play, I think he can sort of step up and play that a little bit as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Next up, we move to pick number 20.
20, yep. 2/3 of the way there.
Mitch Marsh is pick number 20.
Not the cricketer.
Yeah, not the cricketer. Who's, in my opinion, this is a kind of interesting pick that we've done this one because I'm looking at this in regards to is he exactly what they need? I don't think so, but I think some good depth. He's effective on the scoreboard, but I'm looking at the likes of Brad Close, who he could learn from. Obviously, he's got a bit more height to his game too, so potentially even learns a bit from Paddy Dangerfield to really become effective with the ball.
I think personally this is kind of a best available pick.
Yeah, and that's completely fine.
It's also the way Geelong play. They don't want to play positionally. They want to play utilities all across the board. If Ollie Dempsey's a winger playing half forward, who's going to sort of fill that role? Mitch Marsh has the capability to play on the wing early. But I also think when you consider that Jack Martin, Ollie Henry, Paddy Dangerfield role, where they're sort of like that third key tall, I think he can also play that and sort of replace that. And then as he slowly develops his game, replacing one of those, he gets better and maybe funnels his way into the middle part of the ground, either as a winger or even as just an athletic profile.
Yeah, because he's got a fair bit of agility. He finished in the top 10 in the 2K time trial as well. So he's got the guts to run hard. So some midfield minutes could be on the agenda for this bloke, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Pick 21, Fremantle bid on Sydney's Harry Kyle. It is pretty much consensus now that Kyle would be the first Sydney NGA player to be bid on over someone like Max King. And I think when you consider his profile, Sydney want to accept this trade. They have the ability to because they've got 2 second-round picks slightly after this. And athletic winger, which is a pretty consensus thing now in a lot of these players in this range, the 20 to 40 range, where they're athletes and they sort of play on the outside. I think with Fremantle, when you consider maybe a James Aish moving on the outside, someone like Hayden Young, who sort of played that, is now moving more on the inside. Maybe they want to replace that role. So that's sort of why they bid on him. And then Sydney can sort of use him to replace Ollie Florin. It's just a
you had a little bit of
I was just like, why am I talking about Fremantle? Oh yes, because I want to take him and then Sydney match it.
Yeah.
I think there is some potential to make him more of a halfback flanker. But I wouldn't be surprised if he just stays on the outside in the early stage of his career.
Yeah, and a quick little glimpse at Max King, because he was talked up a lot. I'm just throwing this back to the Dylan Alexander episode. He was talked up a lot. So the fact he isn't Sydney's first pick is quite interesting to me. Sorry, I've passed it to you while you're having a drink.
He just completely dropped off in form. So it's hard for teams to consider him in the top end of the draft when he hasn't shown an ability for an entire year. Yeah,
it makes sense. But next up, this was a consensus on both our end for the exact same reason. Fremantle at pick 2 pick up Latrell Pickett.
22, not pick 2.
Sorry, pick 22. My bad.
Thank you.
Pick 22, Latrell Pickett, for the same reason on both sides. This is almost as bait to pick out Keziah Pickett from Melbourne, because obviously the link happened a couple of years ago until Keziah signed on long term. But if things don't go well with Melbourne, potentially he wants to go, his cousin's over at Freo. So Latrell Pickett, let's not also gloss past the guy's talent. He is an exciting small forward who at the moment would pair really nicely alongside Isaiah Dudley. Whether it becomes almost too much to have both of them on at the same time is something else, with Sam Switkowski as well. Be interesting to see if they try and flip some magnets around the board, if they do try to play all three of those guys together at any point. But nonetheless, he can get goals on the board in a hurry, and it's the exciting stuff that you expect from Cozzy. Just he needs to look to develop and potentially find himself a role.
He is like a mature age. He's 20 years old instead of being 18.
Yeah.
But I think Fremantle, considering they want to win now, it's an option that they can certainly take.
Yeah.
Adelaide now, which is the other pick that they got from Hawthorn in that trade, they take Harley Barker, another SA winger.
They have traded back and picked up 2 SA boys. I think that's a really good move.
Absolutely. I think if they could do that, they would every day of the week. Get me in the Adelaide GM right now, and I'd tear it up.
Bam's looking for jobs.
Anyway, yes, any money is good money.
There is also the quick thing you got to point out that he did tear his ACL while he was at Sturt, but he's still considered a fairly high talent.
Yeah.
And considering as well that Adelaide themselves aren't necessarily looking for that high-end talent straight away. They are in their premiership window. They do have the players to fit in, especially with Dyson Sharp also coming in, if things go the way it looks. Then, it's okay with him being out for a little bit longer, maybe potentially healing up a little bit extra, just to make sure that he's fit and firing when he comes in. Also,
considering they're bringing in Archie, who's a winger anyway, they got in Cumming last year. He doesn't need to play day one, but if he does get fit towards the end of the season, I could see him very much replacing like a Brodie Smith on the halfback line to make use of his good ball use. Yeah,
fantastic. Next up, Jack Dyson.
Yes, so North Melbourne here bid on Carlton's NGA player Jack Dyson, whilst they probably won't do this in real life if that trade were to happen, considering this is the original spot that North Melbourne would have traded. I've got it here because I just think they'd really like this player.
Yeah.
They probably want that sort of forward midfielder, but I think can't take it. They've even got Ben Ainsworth now, so creating a dynamic duo between him two, he can learn off him, and I think he pairs really nicely there. Really good potential, athletic, And I just think they've got enough points here as well, which is a pretty easy thing for them to do.
Yep, and like you said, with Carlton trading back, they make it pretty easy to go and grab Jack Ison as well.
They do also get pick 29 in return, which does come into play later as well.
Fantastic. Next up, North Melbourne get their go this time around, and they pick up Josh Lindsay, who I've also seen a bit of as a best available pick as well. So with Josh Lindsay, he is a halfback player who I think could potentially replace Caleb Daniel because he has been the glaring problem out of all the kind of backline issues in that he hasn't got what he had while he was at the Dogs anymore.
Yeah.
So Lindsay would be a nice little reset for him. Builds in nice with all the young blokes that North kind of have. And he's just a smooth-moving player with fantastic skills by foot, which sounds a little bit like Colby McKercher. So
doesn't have the athleticism of Colby McKercher, which is why he slides, though.
Yeah.
That it's very much can't really run super quick. Doesn't have a great aerial game, so there is a question why he might play off halfback instead of a winger.
Yep.
But anyway, that's what North need. They need good kicks.
And either way, Colby has, from what I've been able to tell, expressed interest in moving inside the midfielder, at least on that winger role. He's wanted to get off that halfback. So this would potentially be his way out, and Josh Lindsay would be a nice little replacement for him.
Absolutely. Now, Melbourne bid on Collingwood's Zach McCarthy. They didn't end up getting Aidan Schubert, hence why they bid on another tall here. And Collingwood do end up accepting it, and they get a pick late in the 40s, which doesn't affect this at all.
Yep.
Really good range, sort of key forward or backup ruck, provides a potential answer for the future over that position. It is a bit of a reach, though, in terms of his range, probably 30 back. But I think considering Melbourne want that tall and they've got this pick, which was originally from the Western Bulldogs, they sort of want to go with someone who could potentially provide that answer up forward. There we are.
But considering Collingwood has bid on them, it does not happen for them. So next up, we move to Melbourne again, this time.
Yep.
Max Kondogiannis, I believe is how it's pronounced.
Yep, absolutely.
Give us a rundown of him.
So I think he's sort of like another medium defender. They've taken a small forward in Dovaston. They've taken a midfielder in Greeves, and they've taken a winger in Cam Nairn. They now result in a defender. So getting a spot in all across the ground, which I think helps Stephen King, which is what he wants. He wants athletes, and this is what Kondogiannis is as a medium defender. I think he also pairs quite nicely alongside Petty, Lever, and Turner. Probably a bit similar to Turner, but I think he also has that ability to run with his speed. And I think that pairs nicely alongside Trent Rivers as well.
Yeah, you've been really big on their whole system change as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's kind of affected a lot of this mock draft, is that idea that they want something quick. They want something, maybe not even quick, just different. Different to how they've been playing over these last couple of years. But next up, we find ourselves with one that I find interesting because I've seen a lot of Essendon fans really excited about this bloke. Adam Swede. Swade, sorry. Apologies.
All good.
He's an Essendon NGA product, hence why Essendon fans are so excited about him. But in this scenario, with West Coast picking him up, they actually don't bid on him.
So obviously this is based off of the trade they did with Carlton, where it's 21, 27, and 30. This is not including any potential picks that go back. Obviously, that can happen, and Essendon then can match this pick. But considering we don't have that situation, I also don't see Essendon trading any future picks because they're in the rebuild to try and get these players. They might miss out on him, but they've also got Hussein El Akbar later in the draft, who they could very much pick up with a few late picks that they already have that just won't be involved in this situation. I just think that West Coast bid on him because they need that in an under player.
Yeah.
They have taken Willem Duursma, they've taken a key forward, and they've got Hewitt and they've got Reid. None of them really are in and under and can get their hands on the ball at a stoppage. That is exactly what Swade does in that Dion Prestia mold.
I think Reid plays that role a bit sometimes, but Swade looks like that is his prime role. Yeah. I think he's been compared a couple of times to Dion Prestia. He has that Dion Prestia style of play. So with that being said, he would be that one to go and get the hard ball. I'd maybe even compare him, if things go well, to a Tom Atkins type, the one who's always willing to put his body on the line, get the hard balls, hard tackles, whatever it may be, and then provide the opportunities for the likes of Reid, the likes of Duursma, and Elijah Hewitt to all break the game open.
Yeah, I get that 100%. Sydney now, they bid on Gold Coast Jai Murray, and in a similar situation, without doing any other trades, Gold Coast simply do not have the points to match this bid, and so Sydney end up getting Jai Murray.
Yeah, it's another scenario of no bid match. 2 no bid matches in a row, especially considering Gold Coast seem to really want him. Yeah, they want to find a way to get him, but I mean, yeah, when you're taking 2 and 4 with bids, it makes it very, very difficult to go on out and do that. So, with that being said, how does he fit alongside Sydney?
He had an injury in the start of the year, so there's potential for him to have been considered a top 20 player. And so when you consider him at 29, Sydney sort of want to go for that. He's a medium defender, and considering Rampy's sort of there, Melican, Aaron Francis is just sort of retired. It's an option for them to fill out, and I think it works out perfectly in the end.
Yeah, okay. That's good for Sydney then. And then final pick of our mock draft, our final mock draft here is Marcus Krasnodar. Oh my God, I messed it up.
Bad.
That was really bad. That was awful. So I hope he does. Actually, I'm not going to say that. That's really harsh. I was going to say I hope he doesn't have a good career, because otherwise I'm going to struggle to say that one. No, I do not mean that. That is really poor from me.
So this is Carlton's pick that they got back from the Jack Eisen bid. They select the ruckman Marcus. You want to have another go?
I'm not having another go. I've already Krasnodar. There we go. I just need to hear it once.
So this is the player that I got from John T. Ralph-Smith in last week's episode. He says he's arguably the best pure ruckman in the competition. When you consider Carlton, they've got Pidnett and they've got Liam Reedy. Crash and bash, not really that athletic profile of the modern era now with the rule changes. Krasnodar absolutely is. So I think when you consider they've got a short-term answer, they want to find a long-term answer, can maybe develop for a year or two, whilst Pidnett and Reedy are then fighting for the number 1 spot. He fills in afterwards, and then you've got the answer right there.
Fantastic. Well done, Krasy. Good stuff, mate. There we go. I hope you have a fantastic career, mate. Christ. I really do. I don't want that to be my defining moment of this video, if I'm being completely honest. But
yeah, it's my Jake Watermelon moment.
Yes, fantastic. Well, that is all 30 of the ones that we were going to go through with this one. So let us know. What are you thinking when it comes to our mock draft? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Whatever it may be, let us know in the comments. Be happy to discuss what you guys are thinking with it as well. But that is episode number 38 of the Zero Access Footy podcast, done and dusted.
Muzzle tov.
We're keen to see what the rest of the draft, or the draft night, is going to look like at the very least. We're really keen to see how that looks, and we're definitely going to be comparing our picks to the real thing.
Absolutely.
And every pick that we get right, I told you, every single time. Even Willem Duursma will be like, I knew it. I had it from day one.
It was us. It was not.
Us.
Yeah.
We had it.
There's a chance I might do a draft night reaction on the Zero Access Footy channel. It's a maybe. It's a maybe.
That would be good.
It's a maybe.
Exciting. But nonetheless, appreciate you all tuning in. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Thank you all very much. I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.